Take a breath and just pause for a moment before you keep going through your day. Because if you ended up here right now, that was not random at all. It was not some coincidence or a random glitch in the feed. Something deep inside you was searching for this message, and somehow it made its way back to you. So stay with me for a little while longer. I want you to think about this special person right now and let their face come clearly into your mind. Notice what happens inside your body when it does. That gentle pull in your heart and that blend of warmth and longing and something you cannot quite describe. That feeling is not confusion at all. That is your heart recognizing something your mind is still trying to understand fully, because this person is not just someone who came into your life by chance. On a deeper level, something within you already knows them well. And I understand how tiring it can be to carry a love this large when everything around it feels so unsure. All those nights, you lay awake holding it quietly inside and wondering if you are reading too much into the signs. Wondering if any of it even matters in the end. But it does matter greatly, and you are not being naive or silly. You are not being too emotional or excessive in any way. You are someone who is right in the middle of something that is going to become very meaningful. That is exactly why it feels this difficult right now. If you feel deeply connected to someone, even when it is painful, then hit like, so this message reaches more people who need it. What makes these kinds of connections so powerful is that they do not just touch the surface of who we are. They reach straight into the parts of us we have spent years trying to control, hide, or simply survive around. People often believe love is supposed to arrive like a relief, like finally reaching calm water after years of struggling to stay afloat in tough times. But the connections that truly change us usually arrive more like a storm before they bring peace. They shake loose everything that was buried under old coping ways, emotional protection, pride, fear, and survival habits. And at first, that shaking can feel more like breaking apart than positive change. When someone enters your life and touches places nobody else could reach, your protective strategies suddenly stop working. The person who always gave too much finally realizes how exhausted they are from constantly proving their value. They begin to question why they believed closeness had to be earned through endless emotional labor and patience over time. This realization hurts deeply because it forces them to face the painful idea that they were taught love is not guaranteed just for simply existing as they are. At the same time, the other person is facing the pain of surviving by staying emotionally distant. Closeness became connected to past betrayal or loss, so true intimacy now feels unsafe to them. They pull away, not because the connection lacks meaning, but because the feelings become too overwhelming. What looks like one person chasing and the other creating distance is actually two wounded hearts responding differently to the same fear of rejection. The pursuer must learn that their worth is never measured by how much pain they can endure for love. The one who withdraws often fears losing themselves, disappointing the other person, or becoming emotionally trapped, so when the connection grows deeper, they instinctively create distance. Yet that distance rarely brings peace. It brings guilt, confusion, loneliness, and a deeper awareness of how much they truly care. Avoiding vulnerability may protect them from rejection, but it also keeps them from receiving the love they secretly long for. Healing often begins with confusion, inconsistency, fear, and silence before real change takes place. Growth is often messy before it becomes wisdom. Just as a caterpillar transforms before becoming something new, real change requires old fears, defenses, and beliefs to fall away. These connections reveal both our longing for closeness and our fear of it, teaching the difference between attachment and genuine love. Attachment says someone must complete what is missing, while true love grows from wholeness. Comment Destined. If you feel deeply connected to this special person right now, genuine love eventually says, I want to meet you fully while also learning how to remain whole within myself no matter what. And that change alters everything around the relationship. But here is the part I really need you to hear clearly and take to heart. This is the piece most people miss along the way in their journey. In every one of these connections, there is a turning point that comes. And it does not arrive with some dramatic moment or a long overdue conversation between the two. It does not happen because they finally say the thing you have been waiting to hear for so long. It happens because of a decision you make quietly inside yourself without telling anyone. The decision to stop waiting around to be chosen and to start genuinely choosing yourself instead, with full intention. When that shift happens, something in the whole dynamic starts to change gradually. Not because love operates like magic, but because whatever energy you are bringing into the space between two people, it lands and makes a difference. When you stop reaching towards someone from a place of fear or need, you stop being something they feel the urge to move away from in response. And for maybe the first time, they are left sitting alone with what they actually feel about you without distractions. Not what they are afraid of, not what they have been avoiding, but what is actually there in their heart. And what is there has never gone away, even through the tough times. I want you to trust that deeply and hold on to it. Let me be honest with you about something, and I need you to actually sit with this instead of just reading past it quickly. Everything you have been through in this waiting, every single moment of it has meant something important for your path. Not 1 second of it has been thrown away or wasted in vain. I know it might feel that way sometimes when doubts creep in. I know there are moments where you look back at all the love you have poured out and wonder if it just evaporated into empty air, if it landed anywhere at all, or if any of it was even worth it in the end. But here is what I know to be true from many such stories. Love does not just vanish into nothing at all. It does not go nowhere without leaving its mark. Every quiet evening spent thinking of someone who is not beside you counts for something real, and every night you fall asleep holding misplaced feelings is not in vain or lost forever. That love is real and active, shaping and deepening you into someone capable of holding something truly extraordinary when it finally arrives in your life. When you cry because something so right causes so much pain, it is never a sign of weakness or fragility on your part. Those tears are your heart being completely unwilling to abandon something it recognizes as sacred, representing a rare kind of faithfulness that few people maintain through hardship. Most people find a reason to walk away when things get this hard and uncertain, protecting themselves before they can get hurt any further along the way. It would have been so easy for you to shut down, build a wall, and decide that loving this deeply was just a liability in the end. So many people get hurt or left waiting long enough that they eventually go quiet and close themselves off because the price feels too high. You had every justification to make that same choice, and absolutely nobody would have blamed you for doing so after all that. Yet you stayed open when closing was easier, and you stayed soft when hardening was right there as an easy option to take. In a world that rewards being guarded and detached, your refusal to go that route is a powerful armor, not a vulnerability at all. Loving completely without calculating the return is an incredibly rare foundation from which a lasting love is built over time. You chose to stay, feel, and keep caring when outer circumstances gave you every reason to close the door firmly. And that is everything that matters in this process. But to love someone through confusion, through distance, through seasons where nothing is clear and the silence stretches long, and to do it without it making you bitter, takes something that cannot be faked and cannot be learned from the outside world alone. Type healing if this message is hitting you deep in your chest. You either have that capacity or you do not, and you do have it deep within. That is not a small thing about you at all. It might actually be the most important thing about you right now. And it is precisely that quality that is leading you somewhere real, not toward a relationship that keeps you permanently off balance always. Always trying to read between the lines and always wondering where you stand with them. Always bracing yourself for the next moment of uncertainty that might come. Not toward a love that makes you feel like your emotions are somehow too big for the container you have been given so far. You are headed towards something that fits perfectly, something that does not require you to manage yourself down or dim any part of who you are inside. A love that feels the way a deep breath feels after you have been holding tension in your chest for too long already. That is not a poetic exaggeration at all. That is genuinely where this is going if you keep doing what I am about to tell you in the coming days. So what does that actually look like in practice day by day? What do you do today, tomorrow, in the days that follow with all of this energy inside? Here is the most important and most difficult thing, and I am not going to dress it up to make it sound simpler than it is for you. You turn toward yourself deliberately, consciously, with real intention every day. Not as a performance of moving on, not as a way of punishing them or signaling something to the world. Genuinely, honestly, you redirect the energy you have been spending outward and you bring it home to yourself where it belongs. You start asking yourself a question that maybe you have not asked in a long time with honesty. What do I actually need right now in my own life? Not what do they need from me right now, not what could I do or say or become that might shift things between us in some way, not what would make them come back or open up or finally understand the depth. What do you need for yourself today and what would feel good to you right now? What part of your own life have you been neglecting because you were so focused on something that was always slightly out of reach before? You start filling those places with care and attention again. You start saying yes to yourself with at least a fraction of the enthusiasm you have been saying yes to everyone else with over time. The things you put off because you were waiting for life to feel more settled first, you start doing some of those things now. The friendships you let drift a little because your emotional energy was elsewhere, you reach back towards some of those people again. The parts of yourself that you put on a shelf because you were so absorbed in this situation, you take them back down and you dust them off with care. None of this is about pretending the love is not there inside you still. None of it is about forcing yourself to feel something you do not, or stop feeling something you do feel deeply. It is simply about expanding your life back out to its full size so that you are not living in a small room built entirely around one person and one outcome alone. And here is what happens when you genuinely start doing that over the days ahead. Something shifts in how you carry yourself through the world. It is not a dramatic overnight transformation that everyone notices immediately. It is quieter than that, but it is real and lasting in its effect. You stop feeling like an incomplete sentence waiting for its ending to arrive. You stop feeling like you are in a perpetual holding pattern, like your life cannot fully begin until this particular thing resolves itself completely. You start feeling like a whole person, like someone whose life has weight and color and forward motion, regardless of what any one relationship is or is not doing at the moment. And that feeling, that groundedness, that sense of being rooted in your own existence rather than suspended in someone else, is uncertainty, changes everything. It changes your presence in subtle yet powerful ways that others sense. Comment, yes. If you're ready to start choosing yourself first in this connection, people around you feel it in ways they might not even be able to articulate clearly. There is a quality to someone who is genuinely at home in themselves, and it is magnetic in the truest sense of that word. It draws things toward it rather than chasing after them desperately. And the person you have been loving through all of this, they will feel it too more than anyone else around. They will feel the difference in your energy and approach. This is not a strategy or a trick in any way at all. I want to be really clear about that because the last thing I want is for you to hear this as some kind of technique for getting a particular outcome you desire. It is not that at all. It is just the truth of what happens when someone stops relating to another person from a place of lack and starts relating from a place of fullness instead. The whole dynamic breathes differently when that happens naturally. There is room for something genuine to happen that could not happen before in the old way. Now, I want to talk about them for a moment because I think there is something you might need permission to understand fully. They are not the villain in any of this situation. I know there have probably been moments where the hurt made it tempting to see them that way clearly, where the distance or the silence or the inconsistency made you want to write a cleaner story where someone is clearly in the wrong side. But they are not a cold person deep down. They are not someone who is simply indifferent to you at all. What you have been reading as distance is actually something much more complicated than that on their end. It is someone who somewhere along the way, usually long before you ever showed up in their life, came to understand love as something dangerous, something that costs more than you can afford emotionally, something that opens you up to a level of pain that is not worth the risk in their view. They did not decide this consciously because no one does in that way. It gets built into you by the experiences that shape you before you are even old enough to name what is happening around you. And so what looks to you like them pulling away is actually them managing a fear that has been with them for a very long time already. They think about you in the spaces between the distractions when it is quiet enough that they cannot avoid what is actually going on inside them. You are there in their thoughts often. They feel the absence of your energy, even in the moments when they are the ones who created that absence intentionally. There is a tension in them around you that does not go away just because they are not in contact with you right now. Share this with someone who's stuck in a confusing but powerful love right now, because what they feel is not really about proximity alone. It is about something much deeper that they have not finished working through yet in their own time. And that unfinished work is not yours to do for them, no matter what. You cannot do it for them even if you want to deeply. No matter how much you want to, no matter how clearly you can see what they need, no matter how much love you are willing to offer as a kind of passage through it. That is their road to walk on their own pace. What you can do, the one genuinely powerful thing available to you here, is to not let their fear write the story of your worth at all, to refuse to absorb their unresolved pain as evidence of something lacking in you personally, to hold yourself with such genuine dignity and such steady love that when they do finally move through what has been holding them back, what they encounter is you at your fullest potential. Not diminished by waiting, not hollowed out by longing, not desperate for the validation you should have been giving yourself all along, but standing completely in your own light, grounded whole and genuinely ready for what comes next. Close your eyes for just a second and imagine a morning that is closer than you think it is. You wake up and the first thing you notice is that the weight is gone from your chest. That particular heaviness that has been sitting in your chest, the one that has been there so long you almost stopped noticing it fully. It is not there anymore in the same way, not because your feelings have disappeared, or because you stopped caring about this person, or because you forced yourself into some state of detachment completely. It is gone because the love finally has a home where it belongs. Because what was unresolved is resolved in its own time. Because the thing that was always meant to happen has happened naturally. And it is no longer sitting in the future waiting to become real for both. It simply is real and present now. Imagine turning and looking at this person, actually looking at their face and seeing something there that you have not seen before or have not seen in a long time. Not the hesitation, not the conflict behind their eyes, not that particular quality of someone who is present in body but held back somewhere inside still. Instead, you see peace in them. The quiet, settled peace of someone who made a full choice and is not second-guessing it anymore, not managing it, not holding anything in reserve at all. Someone who is simply there with you completely and openly. Imagine a love that no longer keeps you awake with anxiety or endless questions about what comes next. Your nervous system can finally rest because you no longer search for signs or prepare for disappointment. Instead, you feel safe, calm, and secure with someone who never makes you question where you stand. You are loved for every part of who you are, not because you proved your worth, but because it was always seen. Type ME if you've been waiting and working on yourself for this kind of love. Every time you choose self-care over worry, you strengthen the foundation for the love ahead. Do not let this difficult season convince you that your destination is not real. Waiting is only the middle of the journey. And the middle is always the hardest part, but it does not last forever. This kind of lasting love is created by two people who chose healing instead of expecting each other to fix old wounds. You are not late, broken, or destined to miss the love meant for you. You are in the middle of a powerful transformation, and your most meaningful chapters are being written through the quiet choices you make each day. Keep choosing healing, compassion, and hope, because what is truly yours cannot be taken away by fear, distance, or timing. Decide that you deserve the same love and generosity you so freely give to others. Like this video, comment the part that hit you hardest, and subscribe for more messages on destined love and healing.